Okay, Leo natives, you guys are doing this eclipse in the 6/12 with the focus on the 6th house, which is health, work, daily routines, habits, etc. It's a very important house. And so when we have a lunar eclipse, of course, we have the moon, which is our needs. We have the sun, which is our sense of self, how we identify ourselves. And what is in between is the earth, which is all those mundane activities. And so this is actually a more harmonious eclipse for you than most people are getting, because we do see the earth as representing a lot of 6th house activities, such as, you know, exercise, eating right, and things like that. And so there's a desire to do those things. Now, there are still some blocks, of course, because this is an eclipse, so it does alert us that there are some blocks that we need to deal with. And so that could be that maybe you do want to work out, but you're in lockdown right now, or you have an idea that you want to go to a gym, but maybe that doesn't sound like the best idea during a pandemic. So there are some reasons that you might be holding back, and that's okay. It just says that you have to find new ways of doing this. So that means you have to go outside your comfort zone, or think outside the box, or any of those other cliches, so that you could go past what the earth is blocking, which is the success you want to have. Now, of course, the 6th house also represents your work life, and not necessarily so much your career, but your day-to-day operations and who you work with, where you work, etc. So we do have a lot of pressure on that right now, because as you can see, it's not just the moon in that house. That house is chock full of very powerful planets. And so this is about transforming how you are productive in your life, what your workflow is like, what you can delegate, what you can eliminate, etc. So, you know, really studying what is important to you when it comes to, you know, what you want to get done. Do you want to create more than you consume? Do you want to make a name for yourself? And all of these things that really come down to what are you able to accomplish today. Now, we also have that Saturn back in Capricorn in that 6th house. And it's making the inconjunct to the North Node, your life path, up in the 11th house. 11th house rules your future. And so there is this idea of what it is that you're doing today does absolutely lead to your future, but it doesn't feel like it's happening. It feels like everything is taking too long, or that external circumstances are blocking your progress. And this is basically the story for not only all Leos, but most of the people in the world right now, is that circumstances in their life are obstacles. But fortunately, Saturn is a mountain climber, and so you're going to climb over those obstacles. You first need to identify what they are, whether that is a time management issue on your part or whether it's something external, and see what you can adjust or change, because this is an inconjunct, so that you can go manifest your future. Now, it could be the other side of this inconjunct too, where you're not really sure about what you want to do, and that might take maybe an astrologer looking at your chart, or maybe taking one of those vocational tests like a Myers-Briggs or something like that. But you do need to really focus on what it is that you've loved in your life, what are you attracted to, what are you good at, and find the intersection between these things, because that's going to talk about your life path. So Mars is going through your house of education, travel, writing, teaching, publishing. And so if you're thinking about going back to school, or you're just studying online, that's great. This Mars is going to be in that 9th house for the rest of the year. And when we get to September, it's going to go retrograde, meaning you may need to go over some things that you've learned in the past. But it does say to you, you know, the action that you take, look at what you can study. This is Mars in Aries, so look at accelerated programs rather than something that's so traditional. But you could also look at something where you are registering in school, but maybe then study how to be extremely effective, so you don't have to spend all your time studying. It also does talk about writing and teaching, and so if that is something for you, if you're doing online programs for other people, if you're tutoring, this is a really good sign for you. When it comes to your relationships, we're looking at the relationship between the Sun and Uranus, and it is strong. And so that means that there are some relationship opportunities that are just going to pop up out of nowhere. So if you're looking for love, this is about going out with someone who's very different than you are, or different than your type, or somebody that maybe you had considered in the past and you then thought no, and now you're considering again. So this is the opportunities for you. Now the sun is in the 12th house, so it does say you're a little bit hidden, so you have to put yourself out there, you have to initiate. And so that would be getting into situations, whether they be online or in person, where you can shine, where you can be yourself. When it comes to your existing relationships, we do have some changes because this is a sextile between Uranus and the sun. And because the sun is in the 12th, maybe you're being a little passive about things where your partner wants to make some changes. And so it's really a good idea to listen to what they have to say, because they're kind of steering the boat right now, and Leo doesn't necessarily do well when somebody else is in charge. When it comes to your career, besides the Uranus that we already talked about, bringing in some new opportunities and things like that, it is ruled by that Venus in your 11th house, money derived from career. That does mean that you are working, that there is money coming in. If you're looking for a job, you'll have several opportunities. You may even have an opportunity for excess income, extra income because of overtime, or maybe a commission schedule, or a bonus tied to performance, or something like that. So that's really good news. The Uranus does make it a little unstable, but I think what that's going to bring is some new opportunity that you've never considered before, and that things are just coming together for that, and you should just grab hold of that opportunity and really try it. When we look at your money in general, it's pulling money from the 12th house, and it's Mercury retrograde. This means that money is coming in from sources you are familiar with. It also means that if you work in the healthcare field, if you work in entertainment at all, if you work in any spiritual field, you're going to do very well. It also says if you add the spiritual components, such as doing some Feng Shui around the house, you can really boost your income. And so dust off your lucky money cat or place your lucky money frog, and you can make more money, because that aligns your brain to see opportunities. Then when Mercury goes direct, you are going to find new opportunities jumping out at you, and things will flow much better. When it comes to your investments, we don't have an aspect between Mercury and Neptune, and so you need to be quite cautious when it comes to your investing. In fact, you might want to take a hands-off approach on it, or if you are with a broker or somebody, make sure it's somebody you truly, truly trust. There is going to be some volatility in the market, and this could affect you. Of course, if you're a really long-term investor, and if you're a values investor, you should be fine, but this is not an area to be playing fast and loose with, because Mercury is retrograde and you're doing Neptune. When it comes to money derived from career, we already talked about it, but let's add that Mercury is making an aspect with Venus, and this does indicate making more money than the previous month, so that's great news. It does say that there is some slight irritation about it. That could mean that there are some slight delays, maybe a little bit of a lag or something like that for commission, but it does show that the money is going to come in. When it comes to windfalls and gambling and speculation, you don't have an aspect this time, and so it would be good to be extremely cautious about this. That would be anything like day trading or buying tons of lottery tickets. You don't want to go that direction, because basically the ruler of your money is hidden, and you don't do an aspect with the Jupiter. So I would recommend you put that off for at least a little while. If you are going to do some speculation, make sure it's with a very tiny amount of money and that you really know what you're doing.